بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة والتسليم على خير الخلق سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. First of all, a little bit of disclaimer. MashaAllah, our Lahore brothers and Hazarat are such well-wishers that they push me to the brink of destruction. I mean, they want to get every last drop out. So they've had quite a. They don't realize that I'm not getting old, but I'm not getting younger. So like I'm on the last ramak by this point, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give me and all of us tawfiq that some words that will impress our hearts and our minds and push us towards the maidan of implementation and be among those alladhina yastabiyuna al-qawl fayattabi'una ahsana. So let me first ask, how many of our brothers were with us last year when we had the UBM session? So that means we've got about 50%. So what we'll do initially, this is what we're going to try and do today, because alhamdulillah, the concept has been kind of spread, the idea behind of all of this has kind of become somewhat known. However, if you'll notice that in Surah Al-Fatiha, we recite this surah in every rakat, every day. 7 verses. And in these 7 verses, we have one dua, which is wajib, asking for hidayah. And it's required. It's a fard dua. It's not like if it's nice to make this dua. There's no other fard requirement in terms of dua other than this dua. As a result of that, we are required to ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala these 7 ayats, and particularly this dua, in every rakat, every day, at least 5 times a day. And we say in the Arabic language, when something is repeated again and again and again, it ultimately sinks in, you see. So, regarding the whole premise upon which we are gathered today, and the whole premise upon which, in fact, the universe was built upon, needs to be impressed, because we are part of that whole agenda. And before we start, to facilitate the outcome that we expect, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَذِكْرَى لِمَنْ كَانَ لَهُ قَلْبٌ وَأَلْقَى السَّمْعَ وَهُوَ شَهِيدٌ. For this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, you want to get the message of this Quran, then be totally present. قَلْبًا وَقَالِبًا, with your heart, with your inner and with the outer. So we need to pay attention and have an intention as well. Why are we sitting here? There must be an intention. And so obviously the intention for every act that we do is we want to please Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, who has created, sustain us, and to whom we return. Therefore the ayat which Maulana read, may Allah bless him, reminding us, that back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala we are going to return. When? If not today, definitely tomorrow. So intending the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and intending to acquire the information and hoping for the tawfiq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be able to implement that which will bring us that success on that day, the inevitable outcome of our worldly existence. So attention, be present, focused. So these are sources of knowledge. I don't think we will go into that today, but this is what we want to look at. What is the purpose of business? What is the purpose of my employment? To answer that purpose, we're going to have to go to the purpose of our existence, because it's all connected to that. Now, this is not what we've been hearing, most of us. The very fact that I'm speaking to you in the English language, it indicates that the education system which we had was in English language, which means that whole language and that whole education system was based on acquisition of material for totally a material purpose. That's how we've been programmed. That's how the world has been programmed. Unfortunately, since the decline, Mulana Abul Hassan Nadwi, he wrote a book. What did the world lose with the decline of Islam? Not just what did the Muslims lose. The whole world lost. We totally lost our direction. The entire world. Genocide being committed in front of the world, and the world is saying, is this all right or not? I mean, so what the world has lost because we have lost objective, because we have been now reformatted. And so what is the purpose of business? The very purpose of what people think their purpose of existence is, and that is to live the life, acquire material, control it, collect it, enjoy the life to the max, and when you're dead, you're done. That's the end of it. We have a total different premise of life. وَإِنَّ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ لَهِيَ الْحَيَوَانِ. This is not the life. This is not the life. This is a preparation for the life. So if you make billions, you lose billions. It's not a big deal. We lose the hereafter. That is a big deal. Right? When we enter into the qabr, we're not going to take our accounting with us. We're not going to take our books with us. We're not going to take our lawyers with us. Nobody's going to be able to defend us. Our wasayat, our waste, it's not going with us. The only waste we have in the qabr is our iman and our amal. 3 questions. Who is your Lord? Who is your creator? Who is your sustainer? Who do you believe that actually is running the show? Who do you think that really controls your life and the universe that you live in? And who's your model? Now this is really, it sounds very simple, but it's going to be really, really difficult, because the answer will be according to our action, according to our belief. We're not going to be able to just say whatever we think. And here, we can do that here, in the court, Just like we see on the political stage. I was telling the people today, everything you hear from the political stage, you can be sure, without having to do any tahqiq, whatever they're telling is lies, particularly from our country. Whatever you hear from the United States government, it's totally a lie. I can guarantee you that. And everybody's buying it, and it's working, they think. In the qabr, you can't tell a lie. اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيدينا وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون. No, it's not going to work. Only what was really in the heart, only what was really our action, that's going to speak. So that's what we're preparing for. And in every context that we live, that's what it's about. Our business, our buying, our selling, our trading, our relations, everything, it's all going to be taken under that scrutiny, under that criteria. So it's not about, okay, end of the line, the bottom line, end of the year, how do the books balance? In the qabr, how are the books going to balance? On the day of Qiyamah, another muazin al-qist liyawm al-qiyamah. Imam Bukhari, he ends his book with this ayat, a chapter, the day of the establishment of the scales of justice. You don't see that here in the world. You'll see it in the next world. A book is presented to each one. مَا لِهَذَا الْكِتَابِ لَا يُغَادِرُ الصَّغِيرَ وَلَا كَبِيرَ إِلَّا أَحْصَاهُ وَوَجَدُوا مَا عَمِلُوا حَاضِرًا وَلَا يَظْلِمُ رَبُّكَ أَحَدًا. Then we will get the book. Then the real accounting is going to start. And you don't have 2 sets of books. That's going to work, folks. We can't manipulate, the figures in the accounting. Exactly as it was, it's going to be. And of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need that. He knows exactly what it is. But it's for our, hujjah upon us. Or hopefully for us. So that's what the whole issue is about. That's what our worship is about. That's what our business is about. That's what our eating and drinking and sleeping and building and marriage and child raising, that's what it's all about, the ultimate result, the ultimate vision. Ultimate vision is that ultimately we Get through the whole test and trial. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, pass. أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. That's the ultimate outcome. فمن زحزح عن النار وأدخل الجنة فقد فاز وما الحياة الدنيا إلا. But we're taking this mata' dunya, this ghurur, very, very seriously. But for the wrong reasons. It should be taken very seriously because our akhirah depends on how we behave in our dunya. But we take it seriously for another reason. For in and of itself, not in and of itself, it's not important. It's all ghurur, it's all deception. It's all a test to trial. The real outcome, the real felicity on the day of judgment, when utiya kitabu bi yamini, who is given the book in the right, ha umqra'u kitab. Look, I did it, I made it. Alhamdulillah bi tawfiq of Allah. That's the day that we're preparing for. If this conception is in front of us, then all these other questions are going to be answered. All these other questions become easy. You know, Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala, they had to change their lives totally. You know, it wasn't like they were doing all of these things. Originally that was part of their culture. That was how the world was going. Everything that they had to establish was going juxtaposed to the trends of the time. It wasn't an easy process. It took 23 years of hard work, from the best teacher who ever was sent to this world to the best students who ever came in the world. Still, it didn't happen overnight. A lot of us is the problem. We say, look, things are not changing. We're not, our people are not really, connecting the way we just started. It's going to take time. We may not see the change we're looking for. It might be the next generation. It might be the generation after the next. But as we move, we're moving, we're progressing. That's the idea. Last thing I want to, in this context, it's very interesting. Going back to that dua of Fatiha, what are we asking for really? What are we asking for really? Or better, or more appropriately, what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us to ask for? Because we don't know what to ask for. Allahu ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamun. We don't even know what to ask for. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, okay, I'm going to show you what you should ask for. You ask for Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. Ihdina sirat. Guide us to the right path. He did say guide us to the Jannah. Guide us to ultimate success and fath and victory in the world. No. Very interesting. Guide us to the right path. So if we are guided and we get on the right path and we're moving on that right path, that's the matlub. Where we reach, that's secondary. That's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's tawfiq. And of course, everyone wants to reach a good place. But where you're going to reach, that's Allah's business. Being on the path, that's called success. Ihdina sirat al-ladhina an'amta alayhim min an-nabiyyin was-siddiqin wa-shuhada salihin wa hasana. Okay, if we look at all of these prophets and martyrs and pious and awliya of Allah, did they all have a wonderful situation in the world? Did they all actually complete the worldly mission that they were? Prophets. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, this is a prophet, he was shown a prophet. He had with him a little group. There was a prophet, he had 2, 3. There was a prophet who came, struggled his whole life. Nobody listened to him. Nobody. Can you imagine that? We have this UBM session, we have Nafi have this session, nobody shows up in the hotel, and for a whole year, we have all these, functions, and nobody shows up, nobody donates. And काम नहीं चले भाई, छोड़ दो. क्या हो गया? Prophet the whole life, prophet, Muayyad billah. He's under Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's special riayat. Nobody listens. Nobody accepts. There were prophets, in fact, that the people killed them. Their own people, who were sent to murder them. Did they succeed or not? Absolutely, without doubt. So being on the path. So my friends, this is not an easy path. It's not simple. Nay, well, the government is not supporting us. We have this masala, we have this, That's the name of the game. That's the nature, that's the nature of the test. لِيَبْلُوكُمْ أَيِّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. This is going to do the best in this kind of situations. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرْ بَشِّرَ الصَّابِرِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ. So it's not going to be easy. And it's going to be difficult, actually. But that's the way it has to be. Has to be like that. Because Jannah is expensive. أَلَا إِنَّ سِلَّةَ اللَّهِ غَالِيَةٌ أَلَا إِنَّ سِلَّةَ اللَّهِ الْجَنَّةِ. Getting into Jannah is not cheap. A little plot of land here in your defense, what does it cost now? People that work their whole life, they will never be able to buy a place over here. People work their whole life, they won't be able to do that. So we think we're going to get this Jannat, the expansiveness of which is greater than the heavens and the earth. Allah says, you want to compete? Compete, that's what you should be competing for. Sari'u, sabiqu, Jannah, ardu as-samawati wal-ard. Can you imagine? You're going to be there forever, so it has to be big. Right? This is the felicity. So this is the nature of the world. So we succeed in our business, objectives the way we were hoping to, or we don't, or we get halfway. That's secondary, folks. That's secondary. And whatever we're going to get from rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's already written. Rufiyat al-aqlam, juffat al-suhuf. Qadr is, can we get anything more than our qadr? Will anybody take away anything less than our qadr? No. So we don't have to worry about that chapter. What we have to worry about is, when we enter into our graves, was our methodology, was our intentions, was the way in which that we faced these trials and tribulations. Did we follow what was expected from us? That's the test. If we've done that, we have 100% succeeded. And so that's the kind of success that we should be looking for. And if we do that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very kind. And His sunnah is, if you do the right thing right, you succeed. And we see, stark examples of that. So this is what we really want to push. Because if we get this mind and heart set, then we're not going to be daunted. Otherwise, if we don't have this yaqeen, we don't have this iman, we don't have this tawakkul, we don't have this, muhasabah of, and our focus on the hereafter, where the real outcome is being sought. Any little masala comes up, ye bhai, bahut mushkil hai, La yukallifu Allah nafsan illa wusaha. We get into these, and shaitan is there, Allah is Ghafoor Rahim, and chalo, everybody's doing it, what can we do? Majboor ho gaya. It's not going to work. That's shaitan, he's famous for that, فَلَا يَغُرَّنَّكُمْ بِاللَّهِ الْغَرُورِ. That's his job, put these kind of things. So if we get this focus right, then inshallah, everything else will fall into place. Everything else will be easy. Difficulties will come, we'll be able to face them with ease. Right? So what is the purpose of my business? What is the purpose of my employment? Is it deen? Is it dunya? It is supposed to be Islam, submission to Allah. I'm a Muslim, which means what? I submit to Allah. It's not a title, it's not a philosophy, it's an action. Islam is a state of being. Submission. Allah says, do, I do. What's the consequences? Whatever it is, I have to do it. Don't do this. No, I want, no. Deen is what? It's that whole total of submission. That's what we're here to do. And as a result of that, all jaiz activities that we engage in are going to be governed by this perception. All roles of life with balance. And this is the whole premise upon the existence of us and the existence of the universe around us. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. We have not been created except to live a life of servitude. Everything in the creation has been created to serve us. We can't say we don't have the facilities, we don't have the resources. Allah has created the universe for us. You, mankind, are created to serve me. When? How? Every moment of your existence. Which means not only in the masjid, not only in the jamaat, not only on the battleground, in your business, in the market, in your home, whatever you're doing, be attentive to my order, follow it. This is what we're here to do. So to obey, to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to love Him, revere Him, and fear Him, and be attentive to His orders. So now, what's the context in business? We've been created only to worship Him. And worshiping doesn't mean we only been created to offer salat. The ritual ibadat, they are to train us to be slaves. Salat trains us totally to be a slave. Zakat trains us to be that we're slaves. This is not our money, this is not our resources. It belongs to Allah. We have to. Hajj, total package of training of learning the slavery and the submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Som, it's all about training us to be those obedient slaves. So that we can be obedient slaves in all other aspects of life that we're tested in and put in trial and engaging in. So therefore, all human activities must come under the scope of ubudiyah. We've only been created for ubudiyah. So everything we do has to be ubudiyah. Otherwise, it's out of our portfolio. Our portfolio is, everything we do is supposed to be ubudiyah. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has permitted us to do something, any jaiz activity, it will only be jaiz if it comes under the scope of ubudiyah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has permitted business. So that means that it can, it should, and it must be also aligned with ubudiyah. We need to get this mindset. I go to the work, I'm talking to my client, this is ubudiyah. If we fulfill the conditions. You know? I'm dealing with my suppliers. This is ubudiyah. If I fulfill the criteria. I'm dealing with the government. Allah help us. Ubudiyah, if we follow the criteria. I'm dealing with international relations. Whatever I'm engaged in. This is all, I'm dealing with my employers. I'm dealing with my employees. I'm coming up with my policies. And so forth and so on. Every single action and engagement is going to be scrutinized by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's going to be either an amal salih or amal talih. It's going to be a good deed or a bad deed. So this 8 hours that we spend at the workplace is not like off the meter. It's on the meter. The meter is going. It's all being recorded. It's all being watched. It's all being observed. How do we talk to one another? How do we deal with one another? What's the intention with one another? Do I have a good intention for my client? Good intention for my employer? Good intention for my employee? Or do I, waqti, what do we say, manfa? What's in it for me? The Islamic model is in it. How is Allah going to be pleased with what I'm doing at this moment? That's number one. So, interestingly, when we begin the life, when the child is born, what happens? We call the adhan. Unfortunately, we didn't know that. When I was a kid, I don't know what what my ears heard, but fortunately for all of you, I think, the first thing in the ear was adhan. Hayya ala salat, hayya ala falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Right? Adhan, iqamah. Right? From the beginning. And then to the end. وَعْبُدْ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينُ. To the end. It's all about ubudiyah. So everything from birth to death. إِنَّ الصَّلَاةِ وَنُسُكِي وَمَحْيَايَ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. So, as we said, since business is jaiz, then it has to be ubudiyah, but it only can be ubudiyah if our conditions are met. What are those conditions? Number one, intention. Why are we, so in our model, in our Budia business model, the first thing we're going to ask people is, why have you established a business? So first of all, we need to get that right. Right? Why are we in business in the first place? If we say we're in the business because we want to make money, then what's the difference between my business and a Yehudi business and a Nasrani business and a Hindu business and an atheist business? What's the difference? There should be a stark difference. Operationally, tactically, it might look like the same thing, but because of the intention, it's a totally different thing. I'll give you an example. There was a fellow in Yemen, and he was walking in the old days. He had the mutawas, in the market. So this fellow, the Yemeni fellow, was walking in the market, and it was time for salat. And in those days, nobody could be out of the masjid. Time for salat, you go in the masjid, like it or not, right? So this Yemeni guy was walking by the masjid, and the police said, okay, get in the masjid and pray. He said, look, I don't even have wudu. No, get in the masjid and pray. In Arabic, he said, idkhal al-masjid ya kalb, salli. Oh, you dog, get in the masjid. So, okay, I have to. He goes in the masjid, and after takbir of the imam, Yemenis, Houthis, look what they're doing, These guys are tough. They're not afraid of anything. Yemenis, little people. This Yemeni says, at the top of his voice, in Arabic, but I intend 4 rakats, Salat al-Dhuhr, for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Allahu Akbar. Looks like an Amal Salih, right? But is that really Amal Salih? Is that accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So it's not the outward shakl necessarily. Of course, outward shakl has its place, but that's not the criteria of acceptance. Acceptance is intention, right? We have another fellow, he sweeps the street. And his intention is that I'm sweeping the street because I don't want my Muslim brothers and sisters to have any kind of taklif. I don't want them to have to smell bad things. I don't want them to see this gandagi. So I'm going to clean the street. I'm going to sweep the street for the pleasure of Allah. What do you think? Is that a righteous deed or not? Is that Amal Salih? Absolutely. Maybe for that, the guy's going to go in Jannah. Nabi alayhi salam says, maybe somebody just removed the thorn out of the street with this intention that this might afflict some Muslim, and for the sake of Allah, I'm going to remove that obstacle, I'm going to remove that, something that has the potential of maybe giving a little, pain to a Muslim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts that and puts him in paradise. So intention. So why are we in business? What's our intention? It must be different than the other people. Just making money, that's not an intention. We'll make money, inshallah, you'll make money. Bidnillahi ta'ala, plenty. You're making money, alhamdulillah. Whatever's in your rizq, you're going to get that. But the intention, we want to please Allah by adopting the way of business that is pleasing to Allah. And if we do that, we can be sure, inshallah, we're going to be successful also in this world. No stress on that. We might get tested, we might get put under scrutiny and see, is he really truthful or not? But inshallah, we will succeed. And of course, we have to be following Sharia. If we're not following Sharia, it's not going to work. I can say, well, I have an intention to open a casino, and I have every good intention. We're going to bring Muli Tariq Jamil, and he's going to give bayans, and we're going to have halaqat al-zikr, but it's good. Gambling and all that's going to be going on. But niyat is good. Achi niyat hai. It's not going to work. Sharia, no compliance to Sharia, it's not going to work. And it has to be in the light of Sunnah, in the way of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. And we beautify that whole thing, if you like, icing on the cake. Akhlaq, good character. Whether I'm the employer, the employee, a client, I'm a salesman, whatever I'm doing, akhlaq. Allahu Akbar. One of our mashayikh used to say, look, if somebody would say something really, really gross, really, really upset, he said, look, please, don't speak to me in such a way where I have to spoil my character. In other words, don't make me mad so that I have to, sort of spoil my relationship. So being cognizant of everything that we do and how we talk and how we act and how we relate with everyone. Akhlaq. And this is something that we, unfortunately, I don't know how it happened, or maybe I do have an idea, but anyway, this is not the place for discussion, but our akhlaq has really deteriorated. How we talk to one another, how we greet one another, if somebody does something good for us, are we actually, a lot of times people say, these workers, they don't come on time, they're not faithful, they do that. When's the last time that you showed appreciation for them? When did you actually go to, so-and-so, wow, what are you doing? MashaAllah, that's a great job you're doing. I really appreciate that. You're really helping out the organization. Do we do that? Nabi Sallallahu used to show appreciation to anyone who did anything good for him. Sahaba used to do that. Our ancestors used to do that. The hallmark of akhlaq. And somehow we've kind of, it's my haqq that you do this and do that. It's not my haqq. I have no haqq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it, He has subjected people for my service and to work for me and be, and be a benefit. We should be grateful. مَنْ لَمْ يَشْكُرِ النَّاسِ لَمْ يَشْكُرِ اللَّهِ. Who doesn't show gratitude to the people who are the wasta of Allah's ni'mat, then you're not thanking Allah. So that's a hallmark of Islamic character, that we show gratitude. And in the business place, we show gratitude. Our clients, we show gratitude to them. Yeah, of course, they give us a big sale and we show gratitude to them. What about the little guy in our organization who maybe every day just, he sweeps do we show gratitude to him? So if we do these small things, the huge impacts happen, So that's the one thing. The overall thing is that our intention for doing business is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to implement ubudiyah. Second thing is, and this is totally juxtaposed to the philosophy of business in the world today. This is a big challenge for all of us. Nabi Sallallahu says, "Khairun nas anfa'uhum lin-nas." Is that the mentality? I'm in business to see, and my trial and tribulation here is to see, Allah is watching, that how beneficial I can be to the people. Whether it's the people in my organization, it's my clients, it's my neighbors, it's my competitors. Whoever thinks about, I need to be kind and beneficial to my competitors. There was a time when that's how business was in the Muslim world. Somebody opened up his shop, another guy comes, later and says, a customer comes, hey, I've had 2-3 sales. My neighbor has the same thing. So buy from him, I've had 2-3 sales. Give him a chance, Who's going to say that, Who's going to say my competitor over there, he's got, or we know our competitor has something, a service that is better than ours, or something that we don't offer. Are we going to say, well, go to our competitor? But these are the things that ultimately give us two things: acceptability with Allah and acceptability with the people. We have a very short sight. We think, we're clever and we got over it. But ultimately, Allah is observing us and people also observe us. And you'll never find a successful business that doesn't have integrity, sustainable integrity. Because the people see that. And the people who deal with companies and organizations, when they find integrity, they find honesty, they find sincerity, they want to deal with you. When you find that you say one thing, you do another thing, or you're doing something, you want to get something, people will avoid dealing with such people. This is one of the reasons I think we have a big problem. Pakistan has huge export potential. It has huge industrial expansion potential. But we make it hard for ourselves because of the way that the waqti faida, the quick fix, the quick profit. We don't look at the long term. And we spoil things for ourselves for that. In the organization, in the market, in the international arena. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all tawfiq to understand that these are the basis. If we get these basics right, these other masail, they'll fall into place. There'll be trials, there'll be tests and trials, but we'll get over it because we know what our objective is. And we'll be moving in that, despite the trials and the tribulations and the difficulties. So last thing, and this is all just review, and this is for me, this is for all of us, because we continuously need to keep reviewing, particularly these things, because these are the things that we don't see immediately. And the Quran, by the way, is guidance for who? ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. May Allah make us all muttaqeen. Guidance for the muttaqeen. And who are the muttaqeen? الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. First condition, they believe in unseen. And because we're so conditioned at looking at the seen, and we're, whatever we see, that's what's, directing our behavior. We need to focus on the unseen. We need to keep being reminded it's not what we're seeing that's actually the real thing. It's what's going on in the unseen. Allah is accepting it, He's rejecting it. We're preparing ourselves for the paradise, or we're setting ourselves up for the fire of Jahannam. That's what we need to keep in front of us. That's what makes the journey possible. Without it, folks, it's impossible. If we don't have that, we can just wrap it up. It's not going to work. But if we have that, subhanallah. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهُ مَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَل لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. So if we can adopt taqwa, and one of the major, most important qualities of taqwa is belief in the ghaib. Why would I have taqwa? Because I believe that Allah is watching, He's seeing, He's judging. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all that. And so lastly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has designed this worldly existence of interdependence. It's Allah's system that we buy and sell and transact and interact. That's Allah's system to test us. One is we have relationships directly with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's a test. The other is we have the relationships and transactions with others. That's the other kind of test. And all of them is going to be scrutinized. All of them come under the gamut of deen. And all of those activities are either taking us towards Jahannam or taking us towards Jannah. So therefore, our mu'amalat, the outward way in which we do things, the akhlaq, the inward character, our intentions, our character, etc., these are all transactions, these are all steps taking us either to paradise or either to those. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq. So that's the main message that I have for myself and others. Along with that, of course, we have masle masail. Not masala, masle and masail. Lots of them. But, inshallah, as we move along, we're going to get over these things. So I just wanted to, Jazakallah khair, Maulana Hisham, of course, you are all interacting together. You know what issues you have. I'm back in the States now, and I'm back in my original job, teaching the books of hadith and tafsir. And alhamdulillah, I'm now, not engaged in business for the past directly. I've retired from that and gone back to my original portfolio, which I have to say I'm very grateful from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But nevertheless, this is part of our portfolio to keep working along on these lines. So I'm not directly involved, in business operations on day-to-day level as you all are. So I requested Maulana Hisham, okay, what are the issues that people are facing? Let's see if we can discuss them. I don't claim that I'll have answers for all of them, or maybe even any of them, but at least we can open the floor for discussion and thought and look for a way forward. So pursuant to that, I'll just take, with your all indulgence, we'll just take those questions and look at them. So what he says, and this is what we tried to address initially, that whole concept of transformation. And that, if those who are familiar with our model, the first thing we say, what is the mission? What is actually the vision of the Rudi business model? So the whole thing is based on the idea or the concept or the intention to transform, the transformation of the intentions of business, the perspective, how we look at business, the objectives for which we're engaging in business, and ultimately the practices in which we use to engage in that process. From a material base which is what we all inherited, from the Western world, to an ubudiyya basis, which is what we're supposed to be about. So that transformation, that's what we're doing here. So understand another thing. It's very. I think it's a shout out. It's a celebration that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has selected us to be the medium of the transformation of the economic system of the world. Nothing less than that. In other words, for the past at least century, more than a century, since the fall of the Khilafat of Islam, the world has been dominated by the material capitalists. Clearly. Now they run everything. So everything is going according to their book, their agenda. We, as Muslims, our job is to transform that agenda. Bring the world back on the agenda of La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. So it's not just we're getting our business aligned so we can earn halal. Yeah, that's of course, and that's not a small thing. But it's much bigger than that. We are in the process, we are in the effort of transforming the business system, the economical system, the commercial system of the world. And it happened before, and it can happen again. And inshallah, it will happen again. And inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may use us all for that process. So that's why we always focus on this. We need to keep focusing. And I would suggest, and whenever we have a mahfal like this or a gathering like this, we begin with a mudhakara along these lines, because we all need, myself included, we all need to be reminded what our objective is, what our niyat is, and the rest inshallah will come easily. Now, if we want to have a transformation, so lack of knowledge of deen, etc., which is reality. Now, the reason why personally, I had a beautiful life. I still have a beautiful life, subhanAllah. Allah's given me a wonderful life like all of us. In the madrasa, go to the madrasa, open up the books of deen, the Bulugh of Jannah, and teaching these things, and hearing Kalam Allah, Kalam Rasul, and students, they treat you like the king on the throne. It's a wonderful life. But I began to realize, that all this stuff that we're learning here, a lot of it has nothing to do with these people in front of me. All these, Kitab al-Buyur and all of these ma'mulat, the Kitab al-Muzara'at and Saqat and all these agricultural masail and commerce. Neither the people sitting in front of me are aware of what's going on in those actual spheres, and neither the people in those spheres have a clue what's going on here in the dars. There's a big disconnect. As a result of that, it's like we live in two worlds, the world of the mulvi log and the world of the dunyavi log. But we all call ourselves Muslims. So it's not supposed to be like that. So the idea is, what is in these books is supposed to be in operation in its place. All these things in Kitab al-Buyur, we're supposed to be seeing this stuff in the market. All of these masail of agriculture, etc., we're supposed to see those out in the farms. Right? So we're not going to see that until people have knowledge about that. And I came to the conclusion that, the people out in the market, they're not going to come to the madrasa. They can't. It's not feasible for them. And the people here in the madrasa, they're not going to go and hang out over there. As the thing stands at that particular time. So how do we get this information to the people where that information needs to be practiced? So there's two things that has to happen. The people from the madrasa need to go to the people in the market, see what they're doing, find out what the problems are, come up with solutions. Deen has a solution for everything. No doubt about that. But we don't know what's going on, we're not going to be able to come up with a solution. Muhammad ibn Hasan al-Shaybani, rahmatullahi alayhi, the sahib, the companion of Abi Hanifa, they told him, look, people are, head over heels in the dunya, so, like the trend was at that time, write a book about zuhud and taqwa and, suluk. He said, I compiled a book about buyur. I compiled a book about transactions, business, market. What kind of an answer is that? And how did he do that? He went to the market and he talked to people. He looked at seeing how the transaction, he studied the whole thing, worked with them, sat with them, and came up with this because he was part of that. And the people in the market, of course, reciprocated and they took this knowledge, and our markets were the means of guidance of people all over the world. You know, Islam from southern India down through Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, into China. How did Islam spread in those places? What armies went over there? The armies of Muslim businessmen. No battle was fought, no guns were shot, no swords were brandished. You know. The people of those places saw the Muslim traders with this character, with ubudiyah and this, you know, khair khwai, you know, and they said, wow, we want to be like you. Right? So if we want to actually implement this, we're going to have to learn. So that means that we're going to have two things. One, the ulama are connecting with the people of the market, and the people of the market need to want to learn from the ulama. I need to learn. Therefore, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, "Talab al-ilm farida ala kulli Muslim." Seeking knowledge is not just a nice thing. It is fard, like salat, like zakat, like som. Fard. But what knowledge is fard? Not everything out there is fard. What is fard for you to know is what you are engaging in at any particular time. If I'm not in business, I don't need to know about musharaka, mudaraba, and so forth and so on. But if I'm going to go into partnership with somebody, it's fard on me to learn the rules and regulations of musharaka. Okay? If I need to finance my company, I need to learn the rules of finance, the rules of riba. Where does interest come into the equation? Most of the people in the market, they don't have a clue. And now they're, you know, the finance sector, they're slick. I went to an IBA, you know, we had this years ago. The students, they had a presentation of Islamic marketing. Dr. Asad Zuzman came and Dr. Farzad was there. And they really did a good job. And how they opened that is really wonderful how they did that. So they opened the presentation with some Jewish guy from the bank of whatever, you know, and he says, the Islamic finance market is now in the billions. So we need to pay attention. I don't remember exactly what he said, you know, but I mean, this is a big chunk of money here, you know, we want a piece of it. Well, you have to be Sharia compliant. Oh, yeah, fine, whatever, you know. We'll bring Mufti so-and-so, yeah, whatever we want. We get a piece of the action, great, right? So where you've got a lot of money, you're going to find their capitalists, whatever they're going to do. And so, you know, they're slick. So in the name of getting your business, you know, they'll come up with all kinds of stuff to get you, you know, sucked in. So, you know, and as I said, if a person doesn't believe in Allah, he doesn't believe that there's a divine system of life, he doesn't believe that there's an accountability on the Day of Judgment, what's there to make him truthful? We say as-sadiq al-amin. Why should somebody who doesn't believe in the Day of Judgment, why should he be honest? What's in it for him? So never expect a person, you know, that doesn't believe in the hereafter, doesn't believe in God, doesn't believe in deen, he doesn't believe in the hereafter. Don't expect him, for you to expect him to be honest is extremely foolish on your part. Because there's nothing that would push him to being honest. Yes, you find some case of people that just the fitra, okay, being honest is nice and they like to do that, but there's nothing really binding them to be honest. So that's why the whole basis of business, the whole basis of industry, even the medical industry, all these industries, on that basis, it's all about cheating and lying and deception to get money out of your pocket. That's all they care about. And they deal with us in the same way, particularly financial institutions. Yeah, we'll give you a loan, we'll do this, we'll do that. So we need to learn what can we do, what can we not do, because end of the day, as we said, we're going to stand in front of Allah. He doesn't believe that, but we do. Similarly, in every part of our operations, There's rules and regulations. Contracts. I mean, we're signing contracts all day long, right? We don't even know what's in those contracts. Many times. We don't even read those contracts. It sounds. What are the conditions of these guys? Are they jais or not? Maybe we're signing, our ticket to the fire of Jahannam. Who knows? We have policies that we set up. It's interesting. Here in Pakistan, generally in the market, what do you see? Goods once bought will never be returned. Forget it. Jobiho. Is that Islamic? You go in America, you go to Walmart. They don't ask any question. Return it. No questions asked. Not because they fear Allah or they think that but it's good business practice. Yeah, they must be factoring that into their costing and all that, But they know it's good practice. If people know they can buy from us and they can return, no questions asked, we're going to get huge amount of business. Yeah, some people are going to play games, and our Pakistani brothers, they go there. They go and get a suit from Walmart. They go to the interview for the job. They turn the suit back, get the money back. They know that. They know that we do stuff like that. And by the way, what kind of name is that giving to Islam, Pakistan? Anyway. So they do that because they know it's good business practice. So even though they're going to lose some, revenue in those returns, but they see the long term. This is going to increase our sales, thousands of times, to the extent that that is basic policy now in the United States. If you don't say unconditional return for 60 days, you won't sell anything in America now. If you don't have a return policy that's going to, satisfy the customer, you'll never be able to sell anything now in America because it's become policy. Whereas that is our policy. That is our policy. Nabi Sallallahu says, if somebody wants to return something to you, من أقال زلة أخي المسلم أقال الله زلته يوم القيامة. Somebody buys something, says, well, maybe I didn't, or maybe he gets in trouble, and I think, well, I need the money, or whatever. You don't have to actually, accept that. Once there's ijab al-qabul, and there's no aib, and there was no shart, and all of that, and he's seen the thing, and then all of a sudden he said, no, wait a minute, I don't want it. You don't have to return that to him. That's true. But suppose you do. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, Allah will forgive your mistake on the day of Qiyamah. Therefore, a Muslim, yeah, sure, no problem. The profit I make for the little, maybe little loss that I'm taking in, great opportunity. So all of these things we need to learn. So in every area of operations, in our supply chain, in our marketing a lot of problems. Finance, of course, all kinds of tricky stuff going on. We need, and by the way, if one, if 1 rupee of haram just trickles into our capital, it's going to pollute the whole thing. The people who own the business, the people who are working in the business, their families are being, sustained by that business. It's going to blacken the whole scenario. We didn't even know that. So we need to learn. This is fard in. This is fard ayn on every Muslim, to learn what he needs to know to ensure that he's obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in whatever he does. So in the business context, we have a lot of injunctions, a lot of knowledge that we need to have. And we're going to need people that are going to oversee that, of course, naturally. So we need to learn. So there's the connection with the ulama and the business community. We have to be synced. Okay? Any questions on that, or any comments on that, or any clarification we need on that? Is that clear? How much time do we have, by the way? Because we have more questions, or I want to go into that. How much time do we have?
15 minutes for this.
15? Okay. Any questions on that?
Yes, sir, I would like to make
Yeah.
very insightful, Jazakallah, for your very insightful presentation. Just with respect to implementing discipline in the company, in factory, with respect to attendance, as well as ensuring that employees render their services and maintaining a very good discipline with respect to attendance time
we have to be a little strict in policy. So can you guide us with respect to being strict in the policies for employees, for masses, for
It's a big question. It's a big masala for everybody. Businesses all over the world. But how do we motivate anybody to do anything? How do we do that in our families? How do we get our children to be disciplined? We just have strict policies. If you don't do this, you're fired, or you're going to cut your. That's generally what we do. We make a policy, and it's all danda. If you look at the Quran, you'll see vividly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about Jannah, then he talks about Jahannam. He talks about Jahannam, then he talks about Jannah. Targheeb, tarheeb, targheeb, tarheeb. And if we adopt that Quranic system, and that's the way of Nabi alayhi salatu, he would encourage people. Number one, the first thing, if we want our people to do something in our organization, the first thing we need to do is, I do it. I'm disciplined. Do I come on time? You know, everybody comes on time. Saab, he comes when he wants, you know. There was a fellow, he went to Amsterdam. There was this machine called the Henkelmans. We used to use these also in our business, these vacuum machines, and they're made in Amsterdam. So this fellow who used to service those machines for us, he said he went to Amsterdam, and he wanted to meet Mr. Henkelman, actually, the guy that, you know, the owner of the company. And so he wanted to ensure that he was able to actually meet him, and so he came early, maybe about a half an hour before the company opens. And when he got there, he found somebody, you know, sweeping the floor and vacuuming, you know, because that's what you do in the West. And apparently that's the janitor, and he's vacuuming. So he went, he said, look, I'm looking for Mr. Henkelman. Can you show, is he around? When is he coming? He says, I'm Mr. Henkelman. Yeah. How's it? Do any of us do anything like that? Have any of us ever even thought that maybe I would just clean my own office? Mulana bin Nuri, rahmatullahi, he used to sweep with jaru, not with a vacuum. Jaru, he used to sleep with his kamra every morning. Nobody else would let him. You know. So when our people see that, you know, our leadership, our ownership, our leadership, this is the kind of character they have, this is the kind of service they do. You know, I used to tell my partner, you know, we're sitting at a job, we're having a meeting, and he wants some water, and he calls somebody, Zarapani Leo. Why are you stopping this guy from doing his job? And you can get up and get the water. Why are you stopping this fellow, you know? Get up and get your own water. So this, you know, simple things like this, which I've noticed here, excuse me, but I'm kind of a social critic. These kind of things we see a lot here, and we don't realize the impact that they have. I've seen a lot of social, you know, standards, SOPs of society, which are really counterproductive. You know, but when our workers and our people see that we're disciplined, and we're here for them. And probably the last time I told the story, you know, what happened to our little company, and the whole thing was about to collapse. Did I tell that story last time? Long story short, anyway, and you know, all our miswaks were all over the world. They got fungus. And they were all, you know, and we run our business on, you know, the capital that we have. We never took a loan and things like that. So we've got goods all over the world that is now spoiled, and we have to make good. You know, like, it's impossible. It is actually, it is mathematically impossible for us to get out of this mess. So I gathered everybody in the company. I said, look, everybody, when I say everybody, I didn't call my management team. I called everybody, the cook, the chowkidar, the driver, the whoever, everybody, because we're all in it together. We're one team, we're one family. So I said, guys, we're all one family sailing in the ship. The ship gets to the shore, we all get to the shore. If the ship sinks, we're all sinking. And this is the situation. I told them all, this is what happened. We got our miswaks all over the world. They're all, you know, they all need to be replaced. And how are we going to do it? I don't know. To be very honest, I don't know. My partners don't know. And so what I want you to do is everybody write a little note Everybody think. And I'll tell you something. I don't know if you all tried this, but probably many of you have experienced this. You don't know who's going to come up with a brilliant solution. And my experience is, it's generally not the MBAs. It's the street guys from Liaquatabad who don't read and write. They come up with brilliant stuff. We don't, the Qadr, I tell you, Pakistani people, I haven't, and I keep saying this, Pakistanis are per capita the most brilliant people I've ever seen. The problem is they don't use the brilliance in the right way. I mean, if you can jugaad your way to an atom bomb, I mean, that's, come on. That's Kamal, you know. But the problem is, so if we can get that, you know, this brilliance in the right direction, I'm telling you, there's no reason that Pakistan shouldn't be running the world. I'm serious about that. You have everything here. Manpower, resources, mountains, water, mineral. You have everything here. Why are we like this? We are the reason of our you know, delay. We're the reason of our being down. You know? Anyway, so now what we did was, we tried, and I don't say we were so successful, we didn't do that much, but we just did try to make a thing like, this is one family, everybody's involved. Our mission, our vision was memorized by everybody had that on their, it was packed in, we used to have mudhakara on that, and we used to talk about that. That's all, we didn't do anything really great. We just did that. So the people had a feeling that we're doing something above and beyond just making money. People, you know, everybody, the workers, they thought, we're doing something that's connected to Deen. Exactly how, maybe not everybody, but we're doing something good. That's what they thought, I think. Allah. So, here we are now, the company's about to collapse. Okay, guys, everybody think and do some mashwara and let's see what we can come up with. So I asked everybody, you know, write down something on a little paper, some idea that you have. Everybody. From the sweeper to the cook to the, you know, the top manager. And we were flabbergasted. We couldn't believe what these people had told us. We had just had a very good year before that, and we gave everybody bonuses. They said, look, you know, you gave us all these bonuses, we did good, but we're in trouble now. We can give back the bonus, don't worry about it. Have you ever heard of an employee, we're going to give back a bonus? We had an employee, we had just hired him from Philips. He had a good job. He came at less pay. He said, I like your vision. I want to work with you guys. I said, okay, fine. He said, look, you know, you gave me, and in those days it was 40,000 rupees. A lot of money in those days. At least for us it was. He said, look, I can do maybe 30,000. So you can cut my pay 10,000. It's okay. I mean, and we're looking, me and my partner, we're looking at these. Wow. We had a worker, a laborer. He said, look, I have a house. I have 2 kamaras. You know, and my Ma'zur sister lives with me, and we rent out the other little room. And so we can carry on for a few months. You know, if you don't pay us, it's okay. I mean, I couldn't believe it. We couldn't believe that. We were in tears. I mean, what kind of people do we have? Same Pakistani people that everybody's saying, these people don't trust them, they pilfer, they're not on time, they're not disciplined. I tell you what, to this day, I don't know people that I have a higher regard than those workers of mine. Illiterate. We have these fellows, they're still there. I've already retired and gone and moved on. From day one until now, and they're not going to go anywhere. Everybody's saying, you know, the problem is we train these guys, we get them set up, and then they leave. Why did they leave? There must be some reason. If they're getting everything that they, you know, want, and they feel like they're at home, they feel like they're welcome, they feel like they're important, they feel like they're, you know, like it's like the wife. What's the most important thing for the wife? This is a big masala. big masala. What do you think? What's the most important thing for the wife?
Husband.
Huh? Husband. Yeah. But what's the most important thing for that husband to do? Huh?
Respect.
Or attention. She wants attention, affection, to feel that she's being appreciated. Yeah. More than, you know, men, they want, you know, what men usually want, number one. And then they want respect and they want other things. So actually, the needs of the women are different than the needs of the men. There's a guy that wrote a brilliant book about that. But anyway, so it's kind of like that. If we show, that we respect our workers, we respect our people, we think they're important. And not we just say so, but we think so, because they are. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't exist. What do? I just sit at the desk and they're the ones doing everything. If we show appreciation to them, and not just give them a bonus and give them a thing and pat on the back, but really show that really we feel appreciation. I'll tell you what, I can guarantee you, inshallah, these people never leave your corporation. They won't want to, We had people that actually, we had a fellow, he was an accountant. He got a much better offer and he made much more. I said, yeah, okay, if you think, go for it. He went, 6 months later, he was back. It maza nahi aa rahi. Maza nahi aaya. So I know you're all doing great jobs and you're trying to do it and it's challenging and I'm saying, it's going to be smooth sailing. It's not, and you're not going to have problems and problematic people. So you do have to have a strict discipline. We had a strict discipline. And one thing that we had, on the other hand, we had this young graduate from NED, in Karachi University. No, he wasn't from NED, he was Karachi University. Karachi University, a lot of politics, right? So these kids come in, politicians, So we had one of these kids, and his mother was a big shot. And so he came in and started his politics. I thought he was a nice kid, Sharif, but look, Then I heard about his politics, and he's trying to, get the workers this and that. And as soon as I heard that, I called him in the office. I said, I don't want to see this guy. It was Dhuhr. I don't want to see him here in Asr. And this guy is dangerous. So we need to know who's who. So you got somebody like that as a cancer in your organization, he's dangerous. You want to get him out. But give people a chance. Another thing, I probably told this story also, but it never ceases to amaze me. So particularly our suppliers, we had these villager suppliers and, some of my partners were saying, hey, they do hanky-panky, they're doing, so we need to keep an eye on them. So it's actually for these suppliers who used to come in. And so they said, we need to have some, some cameras and surveillance. I didn't like the idea, but anyway, they persuaded me and so we did it. So we put up these cameras and so one of our oldest workers, he's still there in the organization, illiterate, came and said, Sheikh Saab, you don't trust us anymore? And I just, okay, cameras, get them out. Now, out. If we lose the trust of our people or they think that we don't trust them, then we're finished. The whole mission is gone. Right? So this is ideal. And of course, we had a small organization. I know many of you have huge organizations, I met a fellow some years ago here at Lahore, I won't mention who, a wonderful people, and they have a huge organization. 9,000 employees. We had 30, 40 employees, 9,000 employees. Come on. And they're Tablighi guys, so they were telling me, we want to put less attention to business and more time in Tabligh and outside. I said, well, you got 9,000 people right here in front of you. Is that not Tabligh? That's your first and foremost Tabligh after your family. These people, this is your family, man. Yeah, that's right. So we don't, sometimes we don't think that, we don't realize this is our main Tabligh right here. Yeah, we have responsibility for the whole world, but the bigger responsibility, the closer the people are to us, the more we are responsible for them. And the more that can be done, and they're doing a great job anyway, but I'm sure now, they're doing even better. So these are some of the things that, we keep in mind. So a lot of this is just attitude and intention. Again, it goes back to those things, Nabi Sallallahu says, "Men lam yashkur an-nas lam." We appreciate them, and really, from our hearts. And how we deal with our people, it will have a huge impact. And I can go on and on and on because we've seen stories, we've seen real life incidents of how people have done amazing things in places where you could never imagine these people would come around, but they do. And human nature is how you treat people, they will treat you, generally speaking. One last guy. The first time I went back to America after 9/11, and we know that it's very tense, and Muslims coming in, whether you have a U.S. passport or not, you look like a Muslim, Homeland Security, okay? So I came in and I know I'm prepared. I know these guys are going to grill me, So, okay, so be it. So they came in, okay, why did you come to New York today? Well, I'm an American citizen, I have family here. Okay. And they're just trying to, and I just, I know that they want me to get hyper. They want me to get angry, say something. So I just try to keep my cool and be. And what do you do? And I told them about my company. I said, it's on, you want to see it? You'll be in? It's very interesting. So I got in to see my my website. Miswak, what's that? Natural toothbrush. Oh, wow, that's interesting. When it came time for, and in those days they had to go through this long process. So then Salat al-Asr came. I said, by the way, I know you're doing your work, but I have to pray. So where can I pray? Well, there's my office over there. You can go in the guy's office and pray. Then Maghrib came, again pray. One Pakistani American came behind me. He's an American, U.S. citizen from Pakistan, originally Pakistan. He comes in. Why are you doing this to me? You have no right to, I'm a U.S. citizen. He said, look, settle down. We're just checking. We have to go through the process. No, this is wrong. Yeah. He said, look, we can send you right back from where you came from. What? And that's what they did. They sent him back to Pakistan. So, we have a saying, what goes around comes around. Yeah? So how we treat people, kama tudina tudan. As you treat people, you generally get treated. Yeah, there's exceptions to that always, But generally speaking, that's how. I went to this country, they were terrible. Another guy went to the same country, the best people I ever saw. Why? Because the way they initiated the relationship. Okay. Any other, okay, let's just, what issues do you have, and let's see if we can address it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Allah has made promises with the PS people that they will get best places in Jannah. And in spite of that, and we know that Allah is going to fulfill our promises, fulfill the promises. But even then, Allah has said that He would be masool, and people can ask questions if some promises are not fulfilled.
Yeah.
So this is what we need to follow in this life. In business we make a number of promises. Through advertisements we make promises that this is going to be delivered to you. This is the goods and services we are going to deliver. But do we do that? We make promises with our employees that if you work hard, you will get this much. You will get promotion or you will get increments, for example. Do we do that? And similar things.
Absolutely. I think this is one of the most important reasons why we have now gone like this in the international market from where we were to, this is why. You cannot, I come from a Jewish family, right? Jewish business family. And everybody says, Maghdubi alayhim, the worst people, and okay, all that. But I'll tell you what, I learned from my Jewish family, and they're atheists actually. They're only ethnically, culturally Jews. They have nothing to do with religion. But from childhood, we always heard this, and we always saw this in the way that they used to deal. If you don't tell the truth, you're gone. If you don't fulfill your commitment, you're finished. It doesn't make good business sense not to. You're not going to sustain, let alone on the day of judgment, So we have, again, we're complaining that the people they're constricting us, they're not giving us a chance. We blew it for ourselves, because a few of these, and it's very competitive in the world. If you don't deliver exactly as you've described and fulfill your commitment, you're gone. You got 20 other competitors ready to take your place. So it's an opportunity as well. If we can show people really Islam in these things, And, I've seen, US business people accepting Islam because of these kind of things. Because somebody actually, took that to heart and they really, took it. And they said, wow, well, why did you do that for me? You didn't have to do that. Well, because I'm a Muslim. Not only you're my client, but you're my, your brother in insaniyat. And so I have to, be looking after your benefit as well, your well-being as well. Wow. We don't see that anymore, So very important. May Allah give us tawfiq. And we really have a disease of that. We're all guilty, myself included, And of course, then we come up with the bahana, Lekin aage aisa hai. He didn't fulfill his commitment, and because of that, I can't do it, And then he'll give the same bahana, and it's a vicious circle. Okay, so you know that this guy's going to take 6 months extra. So factor that in. Don't tell him we're going to, in 6 months, tell him we'll give you in a year. Whatever it is, factor in a good buffer, that you're going to have it. Right? But the thing is that we have to fulfill our commitments.
Ask one question.
Mm-hmm.
As you said earlier, Pakistanis are not in a right way. We see just like a Pakistani businessmen are doing a lot of wrong things, just like they just want to make a money and in a form of profit here. They don't want to pay the minimum wage of your employees. And the other unfairness, they are just want to make a money here. But we see in a Western world, they are more honest and they are doing right things which is necessary for the business. What is the difference between the Islam and the Christianity? Or why is the Islamic instructions are similar to the superior as compared to Christianity? Because the Pakistanis are not implementing all the Islamic schools. So where is the main thing?
Yeah.
Very good question. Other religions are, what is the difference between them? Why they are inferior, but they are going to develop more and more things, and they are doing more right things.
Mm-hmm. So if I understand your question, so it's basically, we have this Sharia that tells us to do all these good things and we don't do it. And those people, in fact, actually now the people of the West, they don't follow Christianity and Judaism really, particularly in the business context. They follow what they think is going to be beneficial for them. And they're not stupid, they're smart, As I mentioned earlier, they know that following these etiquettes, and even in your behavior, being kind to the clients and being it's good business practice. It works. They know that end of the day, they're very good to their employees, many of them. They're very good to their employees. They give them a lot of benefits because they know if they do that, they're going to work harder. They're going to be more sincere, they're going to be, they're going to be more productive. So the intention is what? They're getting, because they think that this world is the whole thing. Whatever they get in this world, that's it. They don't have any consideration of the hereafter. So if they miss something in the world here, that's a big deal. So they take their dunya very, very seriously. And so anything that's going to help us to maximize shareholder value, which is the objective of business according to them, they're going to look after that. Being nice to you, fulfilling your commitments, being good to your employees, have a lot of benefits and so forth and so on, that's going to increase productivity, then fine, we'll do it. We'll go head over heels in doing it. You understand the point? We Muslims, we used to do all of that. In fact, a lot of that they learned from us, particularly when we were in Spain. We were in Europe. Europeans learned a lot of ethics from us. What happened to us? Neither we were really concerned about our dunya. We said, dunya, you'll get what you're going to get, inshallah, mashallah, Allah malik. And as for the hereafter, we had the same approach. Inshallah, I said the kalima, I'm going to Jannah, jo bhi ho. I can lie, I can cheat, but anyway, I've got kalima, I'm going into Jannah. So neither we're taking the akhirat seriously, neither we're taking our dunya seriously. And therefore, we are in a big mess. Either we have akhirat, neither we have dunya. Right? So, if we get this realization, that's why we keep on emphasizing this. That no, it's not just you said the kalim and you're going in. No, Islam means submission, active. Islam is a state of mind and heart. It's a behavior system, it's actions. It's not a philosophy, right? A Muslim is a person who is submitting. He's actively engaged in fulfilling all of this stuff, right? So if we get that understanding like our ancestors had, we will be influencing the world. The world will be saying, we're doing this and this and this. Look at these Muslims, they're doing this and this and this and this. And already, even as bad as we are, they already accept that the way the Muslims do their economic system is far more equitable than our system. We know our system is blood-sucking. The interest-based economic system is a blood-sucking system. They agree, they acknowledge that. And our system is far above that in equity and justice. The problem is we don't implement it. But they recognize that we have a much better system, but they know that we don't implement it. And when they start thinking that we will start implementing it, they say, okay, how do we capitalize on that? $1 trillion market, okay, you want Islamic Sharia products? Well and good, we're ready to do it. So we have to, again, that goes back to that whole transformation. We have to transform our perspective, our objectives, our intentions. And then we'll start doing what we're supposed to do, And it's not going to happen in a day, it's not going to happen in a week, it's a long process. I mean, your generation, or this generation now, since I became a Muslim, I'm seeing in the past couple of decades, Muslims are starting to actually wake up and do stuff. When I became a Muslim, there was nothing happening. I tell you, 50 years ago, I went from America to Africa, to Asia, to Middle East, and at the end of all that journey, I came to this conclusion that Islam is true, it's in the books, it's in the Quran, and the Muslims, the real Muslims, are all in their graves. Really. I was a dilemma, and I said, look, I've accepted this Islam, but where are the Muslims? I asked this guy in Yemen, I said, look, where's the country where, I can go and I can just live in a Muslim country where they're really Muslims? I don't know. Back in 1970. I said, okay, a city, or a village or something. I don't know. So when I had to come back to America in 1971, and I had this impression that, wow. And then I went for Hajj, and then I saw the cream of Islam. Hajj, the people go for Hajj, that's top of the line, right? And it was traumatic, I tell you, really. So I thought, Islam is in the books, and Muslims are in the graves, and it's not much. What can I do? Just try and learn Islam and practice it and hope I die like a Muslim. But then we saw from the beginning of the 1970s, there was dawah, there was different types of efforts, and now we see Islam blooming, really. It may not look like a lot for you people, but myself watching this for the past 50 years, huge difference. Yeah, there's a lot more fitna, there's a lot more fasad, there's a lot more, batil out there, but there's a lot more Islam also. Wallahu ghalibun ala amri, walakin akthar an-nas la ya'lamun. Allah is going to spread this deen to every house ultimately. We like it or not. Hopefully we like it, and hopefully Allah uses us to be part of that. But there has been, it doesn't seem so perhaps particularly to those who are a bit younger. But in retrospect, we've come a long way, alhamdulillah. And if we keep on the trajectory that we're going, inshallah, it won't be too long, inshallah, the people will recognize. And it's happening now in spite of ourselves. On TikTok, these girls are Jewish girls are accepting Islam. It's happening every day, yeah. So, we don't get too despondent, Look at the optimistic side, things are moving. We're moving in the right direction. We didn't have these gatherings 30 years ago, 20 years ago. Mulana, 10 years ago, did we have anything like this? Do we have people in the business community 10 years ago that would gather and think like this? Do we have that? No. Now we have that all over the world. So things are moving, but according to Allah's tartib, not according, how we want it. We want Panadol solution, right? Take the pill and it happens. That's not how it works. Yeah. Alaikum salam.
My question is that how should we approach regarding credit in our businesses, credit udhar that we use to run our businesses. So I've been fairly new to business. I've been in it for almost 3 years now, and the kind of advice that I get from the market or the people who are around me, which is very materialistic advice, is that you should learn to grow your business or you should learn to make money on someone else's money. तो इस तरह कहते हैं कि जी असल कारोबार तो ये है ना कि आपको दूसरों के पैसे से काम करना सीखना चाहिए. But when I think about it, there are a couple of things which sort of are in my head. So, for example, in Surah Baqarah, 282, the longest ayat in Quran, it talks in detail about how Muslims should deal amongst each other when we are doing any credit transaction. I'm not sure if it applies solely on day-to-day business or not, but it shows a level of seriousness that Allah Ta'ala is asking us to take it seriously enough to have it written down, have witnesses, have a deadline, and all of those things. The second thing is a waqia from Huzur Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, where he denied to pray janazah of a man who died with credit on him.
Yeah.
And the third thing is that I read about Abdul Rahman bin Auf, who is one of the top examples of from the Ashram of Ashra relating to business, and one of the prime rules that that can be derived from his life is that he never traded in credit. The wording is sort of like he never bought in credit or he never even sold in credit. But unfortunately, because maybe I am weak, the reality of the business that's around somehow also portrays that it's very hard. If you really want to grow, you cannot sort of do it without getting credit, not just for the investment time period, but also to run your working capital. So, there is credit going on with your suppliers, there is credit going on with your customers and all. And unfortunately, what I have observed is that people are not they are sort of very hesitant to pen it down. And because we don't pen it down, पंजाब में बड़े आसानी से कह देते हैं वो मिल जाएंगे पैसे ऐसे कहने पाज रहे हैं.
हो जाएगा mentality.
हो जाएगा. So I want to know that how should we reflect on this credit system, because from my personal experience, as much as you engage in that credit, your mind is always there. It's yes. So my question is simply that how should we approach credit in business, and what are the...
Well, you're asking simply, but it's not simple. So there's no silver bullet for that masala, because there is situations where obviously we're going to have to deal in credit, and the best thing is cash. One of my Chinuti friends, he said, I learned two important things from my father. He said, number one, work in the capital that you have. You have a rupee, work with a rupee. You have 10 rupees, work with 10 rupees. You have 1,000,000 rupees, work with 1,000,000 rupees. And second thing, buy in cash, sell in cash, no credit. So that's a model, and that's very good and convenient, and when it's possible, but that's not always the case. It's not always possible. But the ayah that you referred to, by the way, it's very interesting. Maybe people know that or not. But of course, that's called Ayatul Dain. It's in the Surah Baqarah. It is the longest ayat of the Quran. The longest ayat of the Quran is Ayatul Dain, which covers all those issues that you have. And I also know, yes, I've experienced that myself. When we have a credit situation, then people don't want to write it down. You don't trust me? Of course I trust you. But Allah SWT says do it, so we're doing it. Not because I don't trust you, maybe I might fall into error. When you count somebody's money, it's also sunnah to count the money. No, I'm not going to count it, I trust you. Like it's No. Nabi Sallallahu says, and in fact, when you sell the grain or something, you from both sides, you need to measure it. So the mindset should be that I'm counting the money because maybe you gave me more. Not that I don't trust you, maybe there's a mistake, inadvertently, and people forget things. It's for everybody's good. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't give us a command except it's good for us. And if we don't follow that command, it's going to be bad for us. Suppose you forget about it. Suppose you die tomorrow. And nobody knows about that. And I go to your son, I go to your daughter, well, I don't know anything about that. Or you die and they come to you, your heirs, we don't know anything about that. So it's for everybody's protection. It's for everybody's good. Right? So again, education is necessary. And of course, when we get into credit, usually credit situations also end up involving in some kind of riba. So that's out of the question. So we need to, ensure that we don't get involved in that. We need to ensure that we have, proper documentation and, So if we get knowledge, if we get proper knowledge and we spread proper knowledge of Islam, then a lot of these things are going to dissipate,